Okay, so we see it from our client perspective. We see steel, concrete, subcontractors, labor hire. We see all across the spectrum into the construction industry. The recoverability is always a challenge in construction because generally things get delivered right on time and get used up straight away. So the recoverability is pretty low, we find, in construction sector compared to other sectors, especially around that PPSR or PIMSI recovery is normally very limited, I have to say. And you're really relying on someone coming in and perhaps taking over the project. I think we saw with ProBuild back in 23, someone comes in, takes over the project, pays the subcontractors to continue with the project to a certain extent. So that's kind of the recovery we see in the construction sector.
We had doing work for an international steel supplier last year, had a large debt owed by a developer who had big projects in Victoria and Queensland, and extremely large debt. They put off paying it and then started paying on in dribs and drabs. And then eventually it got to a winding up, which was creditor-led. And then once they appointed an administrator at the 11th hour, and a deed of company arrangement was then put up, which is a compromise to the creditors, but it was put up by a financier, like one of their secured creditors, a second-tier lender. And it sort of showed that with these construction large insolvencies, it's a bit of a minefield once it, where the money's gone, what work they're actually doing. Because I know this one that we were looking at, the administrator, when they were doing their reports, even though the books talked about $100 million in projects, they had trouble actually identifying them. But there was somehow money somewhere because a secured creditor is prepared to stump up the money for the deed of company arrangement for everybody to keep it afloat. Over the last couple of years, these large construction insolvencies are complicated. It is hard to identify the assets and things have been moved around and various levels of related companies. And it's hard to keep a tab on when you're dealing with them, how they're travelling along.